Hello, I'm Giacomo, and today I'm going to talk about one of the tricks that I love the most. It's called Signature 2.0. This is a close-up effect that is sort of an impromptu variation on the anniversary waltz plot. Now, if you're familiar with card magic, I'm sure you have heard of that plot. So basically, the traditional plot works like this. You have two spectators, they each select a card, and at the end of the effect, what happens is the two cards sort of fuse together in what we call a double facer. And of course, there's a two signatures, so on both sides there's a signature. That's like such a great effect. However, that effect requires a gimmick, a double facer. And I do work with gimmicks, but for this specific effect, I wanted to come up with a way to do this impromptu, anytime. Mainly because this is my opener, so 9 times out of 10 when I approach a group of people and I want to perform card magic, this is the trick that I do to start my card magic set. Because it's quick, it's direct, it's visual, and it grabs the attention of everyone. So I developed a way to achieve the anniversary waltz plot impromptu. So what is Signature 2.0 in essence? Now this is the effect. You get two spectators, they each select a card, and spectator number 1 writes his name on the back of this card, spectator number 2 writes his name on the face of his card, and then visually the signature from this card disappears and reappears onto the back of the second selection, which means that at the end they do get as a souvenir a card with these two signatures, one on each side, which is an impossible object that they can keep forever. Now, as I said, this is impromptu, which means that you can do this effect any time with any deck of cards as long as you have a deck, a Sharpie, and 2 spectators. I do perform this thing mainly for a group of people, so I grab 2 people from it, and then everyone gets involved in it because it's like 2 of them, it's not just one, so it's a bit more intriguing, and there's a lot going on. I mean, let's get into the explanation so you can see what I'm talking about, and see you at the end for some final thoughts on it and for a brief thing that I would love to tell you about the project that I'm starting today. So thank you so much. Let's get into the explanation. So I'll first guide you through the performance of Signature 2.0. So the first spectator selects a card, he says stop. Let's say in this case we're using the 2 of diamonds. So we're going to leave it face down and he signs his name on the back of the 2. Of course, then you let the signature dry, so okay, and you leave the 2 right there. Then you move on to the second spectator, and of course he's going to say stop. And this is the card, the Jack of Diamonds, so we're going to use it, and he signs his name on the face. Alright, so one card is signed on the back, the other one is signed on the face. Okay, so just to recap, the 2 has been signed on the back, the Jack has been signed on the face. This is the current situation. I'm now going to put the cards back to back, and I ask them to name either the 2 or the Jack. If there's a third person, I ask them to name. So let's say they say 2, okay? So this is what I do. I'm going to move the signature from the back of the 2 to the back of the Jack. It's going to happen very quick, just like that. The count of 3, 1, 2, and 3. So that now you can see the 2 is no signature on the back. And this card is indeed the Jack of Diamonds with both signatures. And they can keep this card as an impossible souvenir of a magical moment. Everything is examinable, everything can be done with borrowed objects, and yeah, that's the performance. Let's now get to the explanation of Signature 2.0. To do this effect, you need a deck of cards. Doesn't matter if it is complete or not. You need a Sharpie or any other permanent marker. And of course, you're doing it to 2 spectators. So in this case, I'm using Post-it notes so we can identify the 2 spectators during the explanation. Okay, so let's start. First of all, you ask them to shuffle the cards. They can shuffle the cards as much as they like because you don't really care about that. And then you need spectator A to select his card. So to do it, take your deck by the face and have him say stop while you riffle to the side of the pack. So they say stop. And they stop at the king of clubs. This is their selection, right? So what's going to happen is you're not going to ask them to sign what they think is the back of the king. But actually, you will have them sign the back of another card. So this is what happens. You're going to turn over the king, but you're doing a double lift. So you're turning over 2 cards, not just the king and the card right after. What they think you're doing is you're actually turning over just the king, but you're actually doing a double lift. So you're turning over both the king and the card right after. And then you ask them to sign their name on the back of the card. So they think that this is the king, but actually this is an indifferent card. Now to do this, you have plenty of ways to do it. There's so many ways to do a double lift. If you're into card magic, you already have yours, I'm sure about that. I personally do the push off, so I simply push off 2 cards as one. Or if you want, you can take a break by using a pinky break. Or if you want, you can also riffle to the back with your thumb to get a break. Now, these are all options that you have. Also, you have a huge misdirection on this because you need to ask them to grab the Sharpie, and while they're doing it, you can take your break pretty easily. So you say, okay, king of clubs, would you grab the Sharpie and open it? And then I can do my pinky count super easy, or anything like that, okay? So they open the Sharpie, and that time you do a double lift, you turn over 2 cards, remember that. So you turn over 2 cards, and you keep the card in this way. So they open the Sharpie, and you ask them to sign their name on the back of what they think is the king, their selection. You don't want them to take this card, because of course they would notice that there's another card, okay? So that's why you want to hold the cards tightly in such a way that they sign their name with your hand holding the cards, okay? So usually what I say is, don't worry, I'll do like a table for you, so sign your name here. So what they do is they sign their name. In this case, we're doing A, okay? Not fancy, but okay, so we have an A. Now this is what I do. I do a pinky break at this point, or any kind of way to get another time a break. And then I take the 2 cards as one, so they see the king, and I blow on it. Just to make it dry, you know. So in such a way that they think that I'm drying the signature, but actually what this is just a very simple convincer that they've just signed their selection. So I just blow on it. They see the face of the king, so I like on purpose, I show a little bit the face of the king while blowing on the card. I rub a little bit, and then I leave what they think is their card on the table. To do that, I do another time a double lift, okay? So again, keep in mind you already have the break. You blow on it, you rub a little bit, you turn it over, and now you're going to leave only the king on the table. So this card has no signature on the back. To do that is very simple. You're going to approach with your right hand, grab the card in kind of a biddle grip, and the left wrist is going to turn over just like that, in such a way that none of them sees the other card here. So you do this, okay? Which means that this card has no signature, this card has the signature, okay? So this is the very first thing. So again, riffle, selection, double lift with a misdirection of the Sharpie. They sign their name, blow on it, rub, turn over, leave that card there. This card will be here for like a minute or so. You don't want spectator A to grab this card and have a look on the back because there's no signature. So if you feel confident about that, it's alright. If you are in a very very crowded situation and many people touching your things, you can use like a card box, leave it on top of the card, and say, we're going to come back to it later. This implies that nobody in the world is going to take this card from underneath the box. So this is a very strong restriction from that. And it just looks like this. You have the card signed. You say, okay, so this is your card, the King of Clubs. We're going to leave it right here. I'm going to leave it just underneath the box. We're going to come back to it in a moment. Please keep your eyes on the card. Spectator A is going to keep his eyes on the cards, but nothing's going to change because this card has already been switched. Magic, right? So that's the first thing. Now we're going to get into the second selection of B. Okay, so we're now in B selection. Let's remove the box. I'm going to leave this card right here. Let's imagine is on the table. To B, you're going to force this card to him. Okay, that's very easy. That's all you need to do because this card already has a signature here. So in a moment, you're going to ask him to sign the face of his selection, but actually his selection is the card that you're forcing to him. That's all the effect. So this is how we do it. First, I do a shuffle by keeping this card on the bottom. So I shuffle just like that, okay, by keeping this card, okay. Then I force the bottom card on B. This is how I do it. I take the deck in this grip. I ask him to say stop as a riffle, but this time I have the deck face down. When they say stop, I do this, pointing the chew. This forces the bottom card. It's a very, very useful force that allows you to force the bottom card. I do it a lot of times. And it is very useful for this effect because it doesn't show the back of the card you're forcing. So I'll show you. You're shuffling, and then you turn to B and you say, please say stop. They say stop. Two things happen at the same time. This hand does this, so rotates the pack this way. This hand does this, so rotates the pack in this way. So two different ways. What this does is this makes it look like the chew comes from the center, and you can point with the other packet to the chew, which is a very strong image for them because it really looks like this is your card, this comes from the center, is your card. There's nothing to question. Okay, so this is the force. The chew, I ask him to grab the Sharpie. They sign their name on the face on the card, right? Okay. So before, spectator A signed the name on the back. Now you sign on the face. Now you're gonna get a break one more time with your pinky break or any other technique you like, and you can do it again with the same excuse of having them putting the Sharpie back, recapping it, or anything like that. So would you take the Sharpie? Great. Would you sign it? Okay, cool. Would you put the Sharpie back? And as they do it, you take your break. You're gonna blow on it. And again, this is just a very subtle thing to show the back of the card in such a way that they know that there's nothing on the back. You're not really saying explicitly there's nothing on the back, because this would suggest that there's something to do with the backs. You're implicitly blowing on it. I mean, you're blowing on it in such a way that implicitly this communicates that the back is fair. Okay? So you put the card back, Sharpie's back, Sharpie's away, and you take this card, and again, you do the same movement as before with your wrist in such a way that you don't see there's another card here, because you've just done this, showing the 4, so you don't want them to see the 2 diamonds in this case. So you do this. You can set the deck anywhere because you don't really need it anymore. And now, this is the visual part. So there's 2 cards on the table. There's the king and there's the 2. They think that on the back of the king, there's A's signature. But you know it's here, okay? So at this moment in time, what I do is the visual part, which allows me to show as if the signature travels from here to here visually. So now I'm going to show you in full speed what I do at this point, and I'm going to break it down for you. So I put the deck away, I grab the chew, and I say, okay, so let's just recap what has happened. So the king has been signed on the back and the chew on the face, okay? So this is what it is. Essentially, this is the movement. You show the king and you show the chew. This is a false display. You grab the chew with your fingers in such a way, you do a sort of a Mexican turnover. When you come here, you put it underneath the king, and then you're turning over everything in this way, in such a way that they see the back of the chew, but it looks like the back of the king. Then right hand comes over, pushes this card off. Then you come back, doing this motion, and you show the face of the chew. This is all it is. Again, in full speed, it looks pretty damn convincing. Then you're going to move into the visual part. So you take those 2 cards, and you look at them because you want to create a nice misdirection at this point, and you ask them to name either the king or the chew. If I'm performing to more of 2 people, I usually ask this question to a third member of the audience. If not, feel free to ask to Dan. As they say chew or king, what I do is this. I put the cards back to back very easily with no cover. What is important is that you do not show the back of this card. So there's plenty of ways to do it. This is how I do it. I take the cards and I put them this way. If you do it this way, nobody will see the back of this card. So boom, boom. That's all it is. It's very, very, very simple. Okay? So take the cards, put them back to back, and I do it while saying, so we have the Chew and the King. What do you prefer, the Chew or the King? They say the Chew. Great, the Chew. Now at this moment in time, I do have the cards in this way. Whatever they say, you're going to act as sort of an equivoke. You're going to act in such a way that the signature will end up on the Chew. So if they say the Chew, you say great. So we're going to move the signature from the back of the King to the back of the Chew. If they say King, you say great. So we're going to make the signature disappear from the King and we're going to make him travel to the Chew. Whatever they say, you need to act in such a way that this moves the signature from the back of the King to the back of the Chew. Right? This is all it is. So in full speed, it looks like this. So I have the Chew and the King. Would you name one? King or Chew? They say Chew. Great. So watch. I put the cards back to back so these Chew backs are in touch now. I'm going to move the signature from the King, so from the back of the King to the back of the Chew. And this is going to act very quick. I'll show you. And I'm going to show you in full speed what I do. It's going to be like that. Just at a count of 3. 1, 2, and 3. So this moment, this exact thing looks like as if the signature was moving from the back of the King to the back of the Chew. It's super, super visual. Okay? So essentially what it is you hold the cards in such a way that the Chew is right here. And this is what you do. This hand, the right hand comes up as the left hand rotates. And this is what you do. Okay? And you create a nice sound. Right? And also there's this lovely visual moment which it is exactly as if the signature was moving from here to here in full speed, right? So that's what it is, and the signature ends up on the Chew, and then you can have them examine everything, and this is a real miracle because it's Chew signed cards, you know. So again, Chew cards. Show this, show that. You get to this point, move here, they name, you say, I've put these cards back to back because now I'm going to try to move the signature from the Chew backs, okay? And as you do it, you can rub a little bit the cards, not exposing the signature, but you can do this as a lovely convincer. And then, boom. So at this moment in time, they might be thinking that there's something to do with your Sharpie, there's something to do with the ink, there's something to do with anything, but you're gonna have examined everything. Because this is their deck of cards, this is their Sharpie, it's all impromptu, and the signature is permanent. So this will fool them, right? And sometimes when I do this, I also explicitly say that if you put the cards in touch, close to each other, because of the eat, the signature moves. So I give them a sort of a fake method for it, so then they can try it home and it doesn't work, which I really love. So again, I take the cards, move them here, boom, boom. So one more thing, when I do this, I now stop a little bit and then I let them enjoy this moment. I turn over this card showing that this is exactly the King, showing there's no signature. Then I leave this card untouched on the table. And then I slowly rotate this card to let them enjoy this moment. So this is exactly the pattern you use. You go here, leave the Chew cards here, ask them to name either the Chew or the King, rotate, boom, wait a second, rotate this card, and then rotate this card. And this will prove that the signature is traveled all the way through the other card. So now going to recap everything. So the deck is shuffled and you have them select a card. As they stop, take here. As they open the Sharpie, you get your break. They sign the back of the card while you're holding it. In this case, I'll go like this. Okay. and okay, then you get your break, you blow, turn over the card, turn the wrist, leave the 4 here, and shuffle, keeping the card on the bottom. Force the card by rotating the 2 packets in this way. Point to the 7, have them open the Sharpie. They sign their name on the face. As they put the Sharpie back, you get your break. Take the 2 cards, blow on them as if this was 1 card. Put it back, take this card, rotate the wrist, deck left to the side. Recap what happened, do this movement, and then ask them to name either the 4 or the 7. As they name it, you reverse the cards. When they name it, you say, cool, I've reversed the card in such a way that the signature travels from this to this, depending on what they said. Do the magical movement, leave this card untouched on the table, and take your time, then rotate this card and show the 2 signatures. So that was it. That was the explanation for Signature 2.0. I really hope you liked it. If so, let me know, please. I would really love to hear from you. If you like the explanation, if you like the effect, if you like the production of it, whatever you like from the video you've just seen, please let me know. I would love to know. Again, Signature 2.0 is my opener. This is sort of a 2.0 version of an effect that I have created like 3 or 4 years ago, which was just Signature, not 2.0. And from that point, I have done a few changes in there, mostly about the visual moment and a few things about the force and something like that. Because I really wanted to come up with a way to do this thing visually. So the signature transpose is what people need to see, that magical moment. It's not just, yeah, the signature as transpose, have a look. It's, man, you really gotta do it in creating tension, and your audience must really feel it. That's what it is. You know, you're doing magic at the end of the day. You're not just showing a card trick. That's what is important in what we're doing. You're not just showing a card trick, you're doing magic. You're sort of communicating something to them through a deck of cards. This is my opener. As I said, it's a very quick effect, so it's very straight to the point. But even with such a short and simple effect, I am sure you can get a very strong image stick into the mind of your audience. Now, a few more words on the Gumroad project, because this is the very first release that I'm doing, and this effect, Signature 2.0, will only be available through this page. So this is the start of a journey, and there's so much material that I'm about to share with all of you, and I really look forward to do it. So there's so many things going on. This is probably the oldest effect, because it's like 4 years ago. From that moment on, I've created a lot of card magic. There's All in War, there's a Triumphs, Akin, there's Impossible Locations, there's Cannibal cards, there's Controls, there's Forces, there's Cuts to the Aces. There's so many things that I would love to share with you. And everything will be done with this kind of quality, so I do really want you to know that, okay? So this is the quality where I'll be filming, this is the production, this is everything about that, and I think that it really adds a lot to it, to the project itself. So that is the kind of magic you will see. A magic that is firstly focused on the effect and then on the method. You will also see some new methods relying on, I'm not going to spoil anything, but you will see some really interesting stuff, hopefully, in here. And again, I do really hope you will take part and enjoy this project, this Gumroad project, as much as I do. Yeah. That being said, thank you so much, and see you very soon with the next release. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.